The social scientist, often using historical evidence, tries to account for present behavior. The historian, often using current insights, tries to account for past behavior. The point of this program is to reconcile these two approaches in an attempt to shed some much needed light on the subject of LGBT individuals in the United States. To do this, we will go on a journey through their history, stopping at all the major milestones in the American gay rights movement. It is often that we fear the unknown. It is easier to discriminate against that with which we are unfamiliar because we can take part in the long-practiced tradition of othering. The most important and effective way to fight inequality is to stare down its history and understand its origins. This program will aim to improve the condition of LGBT individuals in the United States by educating viewers on their oppression, struggle, and fight for equality. My name is Jeremy Temperanza, and I will be your guide on this journey through the history of LGBT rights in the United States. The story of the American gay rights movement can be traced back to the year 1924. On December 10th of that year, Henry Gerber founded the Society for Human Rights. This is the first American gay rights association, though it was pressured to disband soon after its foundation. In the year 1948, scientist Alfred Kinsey published his groundbreaking Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. Controversially, Kinsey came to the conclusion that sexual behavior and orientation could best be determined on a scale that ranged from exclusively homosexual to exclusively heterosexual. The first national gay rights organization, however, was founded in the year 1950 by Harry Hayes. That same year, thousands of gay men and women were discharged from the military and fired from government jobs as a result of the federal government investigating employees' sexual orientations. In 1952, the American Psychiatric Association labeled homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disturbance in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. The next year, President Eisenhower signed an executive order that banned homosexuals from having federal jobs. In 1955, the first lesbian rights organization in the United States was founded in San Francisco. In 1956, psychologist Evelyn Hooker became one of the first to argue that there is no psychological distinction between the heterosexual and the homosexual male. It was not until 1962, however, that the first state repealed its sodomy laws, decriminalizing homosexuality. Interestingly enough, that state was Illinois. In 1966, transgender customers of a 24-hour San Francisco cafeteria became disorderly and the police were called. After one customer resisted arrest, a riot ensued, spilling into the streets. As a result of this, the first advocacy group for transgendered individuals was founded, the National Transsexual Counseling Unit. Perhaps the best-known milestone in the fight for gay rights took place on June 28, 1969. In 1967, the Stonewall Inn was established in Greenwich Village, New York. Since its opening, it was a popular gay bar. As a result, it was also a popular site for police raids, whose intention was to rid the area of, quote-unquote, sexual deviants. In 1969, one police raid ended in a street brawl that lasted 3 days. Although it received relatively little media attention, the event would come to be credited with acting as the catalyst for America's current fight for LGBT rights. Exactly 1 year to the date, in 1970, America had its first gay pride parade to commemorate the anniversary of the Stonewall riots. Thousands showed to support, and the pride parade tradition would soon spread to multiple corners of the country and the globe. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association voted to remove homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses. In 1977, Anita Bryant, a singer and outspoken Baptist, makes headlines with her quote-unquote Save Our Children campaign. On an encouraging note, that same year, Harvey Milk won the seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. From this position, he worked to introduce a gay rights ordinance that would protect gays and lesbians from job termination based on sexual orientation. In addition, he led a successful campaign against Proposition 6, which was an initiative forbidding homosexual teachers in schools. In 1978, unfortunately, a jealous former city supervisor assassinated Harvey Milk. The widely successful and critically acclaimed film Milk was released in 2008, starring Sean Penn, bringing Harvey Milk's story and inspiration to a new generation. In 1979, approximately 75,000 people participated in the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. LGBT individuals, along with their straight allies, demanded equal civil rights and asked for the passage of protective civil rights legislation. On July 3, 1981, the New York Times published a story concerning a new, rare sickness that had been found in 41 gay men in New York and California. This disease, initially referred to as Gay-Related Immune Deficiency Disorder, or GRID, would come to be known as AIDS. In 1982, Wisconsin became the first state to outlaw discrimination based on sexual orientation. The movie Dallas Buyers Club, released in 2013, and starring Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto, addresses the topic of our next milestone. In the mid-1980s, advocacy groups formed across the United States in reaction to the devastating effects of AIDS on the LGBT community. Demonstrations were held against pharmaceutical companies, with protesters accusing them of profiting from AIDS-related drugs and not doing a better job of protecting patients from exorbitantly high prescription prices. In 1987, President Ronald Reagan was forced to publicly address the AIDS crisis due to a national march on Washington. The next year, the Center for Disease Control mailed a brochure entitled Understanding AIDS to every household in America. This comes at the same time religious brochures such as AIDS, God's Fury, are being circulated by ultra-conservative individuals and groups. The first World AIDS Day to raise awareness about the disease was organized and held by the World Health Organization on December 1, 1988. 2 years later, under the presidency of George Bush, the Ryan White Care Act is signed and implemented. This was a federally funded program for people living with AIDS. The act's namesake, Ryan White, was a teenager who contracted AIDS via a tainted hemophilia treatment. He would soon become a well-recognized AIDS research and anti-discrimination activist. In 1991, the red ribbon became the symbol of awareness for those living with HIV and/or AIDS. In 1987, Representative Barney Frank became the first openly gay member of Congress. In the realm of public policy, 1993 is the year Don't Ask, Don't Tell was implemented under the Clinton administration. Regarding the United States military, under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the applicants shall not be asked or required to reveal whether they are homosexual. Instead of taking the opportunity to issue an executive order, as Truman did to desegregate the armed forces, Clinton upheld the military's practice of prohibiting out-of-the-closet service members from remaining in the armed forces. On September 21, 1996, Clinton dealt a further blow to the LGBT rights movement by signing the Defense of Marriage Act into law. This defined marriage as between one man and one woman, and gave states the right to not recognize unions recognized in other states. We can see the swing in public opinion reflected in Ellen DeGeneres' example and the struggle she faced after coming out. In 1997, comedian Ellen DeGeneres came out, both on her popular sitcom and in real life, leading to the show's cancellation. However, she would be redeemed in short time, and many other celebrities would follow her example. Now, a survey of almost any television show on the networks is sure to turn up at least one LGBT character or one actor who is LGBT. Near Laramie, Wyoming, a 21-year-old college student was tortured and murdered on October 7, 1998, because of his sexual orientation. That young man's name was Matthew Shepard, and his death would have far-reaching consequences. In 2000, the Supreme Court of the United States upheld the Boy Scouts' policy of banning gay scouts and leaders from its ranks. However, this ban was lifted in 2013 after increasing pressure from changing public opinion. In 2003, the Lawrence v. Texas Supreme Court case ruled that sodomy laws in the United States are unconstitutional. On May 18, 2004, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize gay marriage, with a number of other states following suit in the succeeding years. The United States Supreme Court also found the prohibition of gay marriage unconstitutional on the grounds of equality to all individuals. At the same time, however, a large number of states passed constitutional amendments that banned same-sex marriage in their own state. In 2008, voters in California approved Proposition 8, which made same-sex marriages in California illegal. In 2009, Congress passed the Matthew Shepard Act, which expanded the 1969 United States federal hate crime law to include crimes motivated by a victim's gender, actual or perceived, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. In 2010, a federal judge overturned Proposition 8, ruling it unconstitutional. That same year, the United States Senate voted to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, effectively allowing gays and lesbians to serve openly in the armed forces. The next year, the Obama administration stated that it would not continue to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. In 2013, a group that had operated for more than 3 decades, claiming it could cure homosexuality, shut down. The leader apologized to LGBT individuals after admitting his own ongoing same-sex attraction. In 2013, historically and momentously, the United States Supreme Court struck down DOMA, or the Defense of Marriage Act. What we can see in this trend of history is a clear swing in support and in favor of LGBT rights. In 1924, though many thought the issue was invisible, it was there, as we can see in the starting of the first gay rights organization. It's a long struggle that has taken over a century to complete, and historically, throughout the world, LGBT individuals have been seen. However, they have not always been heard. In the United States alone, the struggle has been long in the making. However, it is clear that the fruits of victory and equality are ripe for the picking. It will not be long before the United States as a whole has come around to accept homosexuality and treat them no longer as second-class citizens, but as American citizens, worthy and deserving of equality, just as anyone else.